Hello and welcome to day one of Jaxx the Andersin Kickstarter. My name is Rob Anderson. I am actually the voice of Written Sins Network, but also the writer behind this wonderful project we have going on. We're just going to take a few minutes, day one, talk about the Kickstarter, set up ideas about it. We'll be doing this pretty regularly, so if you guys want to ask questions, just leave them with us, either in our messenger or on our Facebook, which already has a Jaxx the Andersin. There's also, you could leave a message with Written Sins or me, Rob Anderson, on Facebook itself. I'm always around. I can happily help you guys with anything that you need. Let me know. We're checking the connection, and we're going to try to go live now on Instagram for the first time, and here we go. We are now live on Instagram as well. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to talk about Jaxx the Andersin. So let's go ahead and talk about Jaxx the Andersin. So Jaxx the Andersin, this is a story about how having creative parents and going to Comic-Cons can leave a positive effect on a child's imagination. The way I came out about this, and I'll scroll up and I'll show you guys the picture in the video of Jaxx. There's Jaxx at a Comic-Con, Fusion Con, right here in Florida, and he's actually playing with these little Fisher-Price Batmans, and he's just having them fight at a table, and he was having fun. He was being a good boy, and he was just enjoying himself. And at the end of it, these kids came over who were at the con, and they were dressed up, and they're just talking to him like, normal, and hanging out with Jaxx. And he got this big smile, and it made me dawn on him, like, growing up the way I grew up, we played outside a lot, and we didn't have, we didn't do a lot. Me and my siblings, when we grew up, we kind of stayed in my courtyard, unless we were going to school or we were going upstate, which there was nothing to do upstate but walk around the forest. The highlight was building a fire at night. And that was kind of my childhood for a lot of years. And I realized in that moment that my son is going to have so much of a different childhood than I had. And I thought that was so amazing. I was like, wow, my son is going to have something I never had. Which I thought was fantastic. I thought it was great that he was going to have a different world than the world I had had. And I realized that in that world, he was going to see things that I might not have seen as a kid. And I grew up in New York City, so I saw a melting pot of people. And down here in Florida, I don't see as many different cultures as much represented in different areas. Like I'm over here in the Fort Myers area. And, I'm not saying it's all one-sided culture, but it's not as multicultural as New York, which I grew up knowing. But you go to a Comic-Con, you see all different people, and it's really cool. Comic-Cons are like a traveling melting pot. Like there is no, not to sound corny, but there's really no gender, no race, no sex, or not sex, but or borders at a Comic-Con. You get people from all over. Everyone's very accepting at Comic-Cons. It truly is an amazing thing. So I was amazed by that. That stood with me for a while. I'm just sending out a message to everyone. We're going to invite some cool people to join us. So if you guys want to come talk about Jaxx the Andersin, you're more than welcome. We're going to do that right now, all the stuff from today. And so a few weeks later, I was out talking to someone about the actual event in Fort Myers coming up in November, and they were like, well, do you have anything that's family friendly? Because it's very big family friendly. And at the time, the only comic I had published was Fetish Babies, and that's not exactly family friendly. So I can understand the hesitation to instantly wanting someone with just that kind of thing to show up. And They call us monsters, and they call us monsters. Wasn't ready yet. So I understand why they were a little worried about that, and I understand why they might have been concerned about that. So I'm not mad or anything about that, but it instantly made me think, like about that moment at the Comic-Con, and I was like, I'd like to write a story about that, about how Jaxx is gonna have this more colorful life because he gets to go to these Comic-Cons. He'll get to meet all these different people, and he'll experience something in a way that I never experienced it. And I thought it was really cool, and I got really excited about it. So I told the person who was on the phone on the messenger with that I was gonna probably do this idea, and they were like, "Oh, you're gonna write a kid's story," and I was like, "Yeah." And they kept talking to me, and while they were talking to me, I was actually writing the kid's story. So I actually went out of my way and wrote that entire kid's story at that moment. I wrote it with them, and I kind of like geeked out about the idea, and I went right onto Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, I just wrote the story. I'm gonna go see if I can get an artist." And I literally went and went to Facebook on my friends, like you just saw me do now, on my page on the status update, and I said, "Hey, I have this idea for a Comic-Con, on the comic book Comic-Con, a comic book, and I'd like to team up with a fellow parent. I want to talk about the positive effects that it'll have, us being creators and going to Comic-Cons with our children, on our children." And to my surprise, a lot of creators instantly wanted to be part of it. Great artists. I chose Dave Brown because Dave Brown, who let me go over there and show you while we're talking about the Kickstarter instead of looking at my profile. Dave Brown, an awesome guy, bringing together this life. That's actually me. For those of you who met me, it's not a bad depiction of me at all. That's my wife, who's met Alyssa, and that's my boy Jaxx, as some of you guys have met, as he's at cons. That's Dave Brown there in the picture, but he gave me some great art for this, and I mean, just a stunning artist. I mean, just instantly got it. Sent me a picture, and like I'm talking within an hour or two of talking about it. Didn't take long. We decided we were going to be 50-50 in this, and we took the challenge on together of creating this. So Dave Brown's bringing together life. I've written the story, and we were talking about it as we were creating this. And one of the things that I got really excited about, I was like, well, and he was kind of, it organically was a conversation. I was like, I want to bring, I want to have you be part of the story and your child part of the story. And Brianna is going to be part of issue number 2. Dave Brown's daughter becomes part of issue 2. And then me and Dave were talking, and I was like, you know what, Dave, why does this just have to be limited to our children? I was like, why don't we do something bigger? And he was there like, you know what, I'd actually like to see it go bigger. He's like, what'd you have in mind? And I said, you know what we should do? We should do a coloring book. So we do this giant anthology style comic book where we go to all the creators that we know who have children and would love to be part of this, like we love being part of this. And he was like, that's a pretty good idea. And then when I told my wife, she was like, that sounds really good. And everyone I've talked to this minute has been excited about that. So that has been one of the biggest part of this project, is that, I personally love the project. Now on the Kickstarter, of course, because this is about my son, and we don't have a ton of art done just yet. And as the campaign goes on for the next 30 days, we will be showing more art. The book should come in about 22 pages, but that's including, I think we have, end of day, we'll have like 18 to 22 pages of art. We're trying to play with formats, and because see, doing this book, it's kind of weird at this moment because it's an idea, and we're making the idea come to light. We were talking about this. I mean, Jaxx the Andersin cannot be older than 2 months. That's how new this idea is, because I was only at FusionCon 2 months ago when the idea began to be born. So we've moved pretty quickly, and here's the thing. No matter what, we're going to get printed. I don't think that we're going to have a problem making the goal of 750 over the next 30 days. I think that there's going to be enough support to make this happen. But I don't know how much support there's going to be beyond that. So, as of right now, I want to obviously get printed copies for me and Dave. And so Dave can do his thing with them and I can do my thing. And then we want to revisit doing issue number 2. I would like to see that this make a good amount of money. Now, the start is only $231 for a 750 goal. That's not bad considering this is out of nowhere. But to do what I want to do, we would have to reach a stretch goal of about $6,000. Now, what that would entail is Dave getting paid for the art, which I think is important. That's one thing I want to make sure he gets paid. It would also entail us doing a hardcover, which is something I'd like to see. And right now, I would like to maybe put, if it works out, I would like to put both stories together and give like a 2-story book. And I think that'd be really cool. And if we can do that, if we can achieve that and get that far to $6,000, we would start the coloring book right after that. So that's the goal right now. You know, we're talking about it a lot, and this is just the beginning. And I know that, you know, it's out of nowhere. Normally I prep something like this, and we're already talking about my other Kickstarter that I'm involved with. That's ran under by my wife, who's actually the lead on it, who runs it. She gets the go ahead, and she puts it on. She controls it over on Fetish Babies, and this is all coming out with Sinsful Comics. We're gonna make a subdivision of Sinsful Comics LLC that'll deal with the children's book, which will be called Little Devils. So Little Devils will take care of Jaxx the Andersin in the coloring comic book, and Sinful Comics will do Fetish Babies. But for Fetish Babies, I've already done all this prep and I've already done all this talking. While with Jaxx the Andersin, I mean, honestly, we only started talking about Jaxx the Andersin, I don't even know, maybe, I want to say I will look it up. And the next time I do one of these videos, I will be able to tell you. But I remember being in June, being like, I'm going to go at the end of the month. And my wife's like, isn't that a little soon? I was like, no. I mean, it's a kid's story. Dave said he could get the art done for it. We hope to be able to have all the art done as the project goes on. So we're excited about that. So I think Jaxx the Andersin is a great program. We're just signing off of Instagram, because I don't know how long the videos can go on Instagram, so I don't want to go too long. Not Instagram. Oh, am I on Instagram? I don't even know which one I'm on. How horrible is that? Yeah, Instagram. I was right. So, end of the day, this is all about creating a way for us creators to kind of bridge and give our children a story they can read, because I do think that's important. And that's one thing I hate about, because I'm not just a dad, but I'm also an uncle. And, you know, some of the things I create are a little bit adult in, they're a little bit adult in the way I write them. Even with the most recent, and they call us, and they call us monsters. That's got a little bit of a language thing that might wind up costing me being able to call it in all ages. So it is something that I'm concerned about. And I do want to have a legacy where I have, as someone who creates different books, because I'm just not one person, and I'm just not going to write one field. I don't feel like I could express myself properly if I only did one book or did this type of book. I don't have a problem with people labeling the type of writer I am. I have a problem with me living up to a label, if that makes sense, and deciding I'm only going to do this. If I want to write Jaxx the Andersin, I'm going to write Jaxx the Andersin. If I want to do one they call us monsters, I'm going to do that. If I want to do Wild Space, which unfortunately we're going to be a little bit more delayed on than I would have liked. But if I want to do Wild Space, I'll do Wild Space, and that's with Jacob. And then the anthologies I'm part of that are coming out. And then there's Pain Box that's going to hopefully come out sometime this year with Matt Slay. There's still Gothic Blue. There's still Dark Justice, which Dark Justice, I'm a little nervous that there might not even be a point to anymore, as it seems the actual premise is coming true. That's a different story on itself. The point that I'm trying to make is that, you know, I want to be able to write any story like a lot of you creators and writers, and I wanted to write one that my child could like. It's kind of like when the actors do kids stories because they want their kids to do it, to be able to watch something that they're part of. And this is my thing for Jaxx, so he can read it, and for my niece and my nephew. My nephew's getting a little older, so he can read some more of my stuff, but my niece is still pretty young. So that's what this is for. And I think there are a lot of other creators out there who would like that. You know, like it's nice to be able to write different types of books and stories. At least for me, I enjoy being able to pivot back and forth, to go from humor to dark to almost autobiographical, almost like an autobiography. I'm not going to get that word right now, but you know what I'm saying, with Fetish Babies, where we talk about a lot of things that are true. So this is a very different project for me, but this is also part of who I am, and this is very exciting to me to be able to talk about childlike innocence. Anyone who knows me really well understands how protective I am of children, and I think that children deserve to be happy and have a good life, and it's one of those things that I'm very protective over children. I'm not saying I'm perfect or better than anyone else, but I always look at children and I kind of still understand how they see the world. And I know as adults, a lot of people get annoyed by them and their questions and the way they do things, but I guess I just still kind of understand them. So I guess if you want to make the joke that I'm a child, then I'll take that joke. But so yeah, this is day one. This is why I'm doing it. I'm very happy with the beginning we've had. We've already been able to collect just on the 750. We're already, what would that be? We're almost a third of the way there. One more person backs the right way, and we're already a third there. Like I said, I'm going to be going to shows. For those who, and I should do a video. Maybe I'll do a video later tonight about the Comic-Con roadmap. I know it's Friday night. I wanted to do some of this yesterday. I just didn't get it together yesterday. My back's been killing me this whole week, so no excuses, just the truth. It hasn't been a great week for me, so I've been trying to get these videos done. I'm behind in a couple of things I wanted to do. It wasn't a banner week for me, but I got the Kickstarter out. I got things shared on Written Sins, which is important. So, the important stuff was handled. Some of the other stuff that we don't necessarily need to be doing, that fell to the side, and we'll pick up the slack. But I will be traveling. We'll be able to talk about this in Virginia. We'll be able to talk about this in North Carolina. We'll be able to talk about this tomorrow in Oka. We'll be able to talk about this in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be able to talk about this in Tampa Bay when MegaCon goes there. And we're going to bring this to New York Comic-Con, hopefully printed. So we're going to be bringing the idea of this into, even after this Kickstarter ends, we're going to be talking about Jaxx the Andersin, because I want to get to that anthology coloring book. Thank you all for those who spent some time with me on a Friday night. I'm sure everyone's got better stuff to do. I'm going to go try to relax. The pizza guy should be here with dinner soon, so I'm just going to go try to chill for a little bit. Thank you all for everyone who shared it today and supported me. Thank you all for who watch this video later and have supported me and are sharing it. I can't wait to bring you this longer plan to get to the coloring book idea. I want to tell the story. I want to set the foundation so it's got a strong lead in so we get there the right way. You guys are great. I'm not going to take up much more of your time. Thank you for tuning in.